Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraid. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And today we are going to start a new chapter. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter number 15. Pandavas retire timely. And we will do verses 1 through 27 because it's a very big chapter. So, text number 1. Sutta Uvacha Evam Krishna Sakaha Krishno Bhratra Rajna Vikalpitaha Nana Sankashpatam Rupam Krishna Vishlesha Karshitaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna, the celebrated friend of Lord Krishna, was grief-stricken because of his strong feeling of separation from Krishna. Over and above all, Maharaj Yudhishthir's speculative inquiries. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. A very interesting chapter where we will see how Arjuna is overwhelmed with grief and how he gradually regains his spiritual clarity. In this chapter, we see the most important point is timely. Timely is very, very important because what happens, most people in this world, they are so busy, engrossed in, making money, doing this, doing that, collecting possessions, and then they forget the purpose of human life. And the time is just passing by. And most people think, okay, at the time of death, those who have some knowledge, at the time of death, we will think about the Supreme Lord and go back to the spiritual world. No. Timely, which means as soon as we come to know, as soon as someone gives us the knowledge, what is the goal of human form of life, then we should not remain attached materially. When I was working in the corporate world, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but one of my colleagues was 92 years old and was still working and was struggling. And guess what? He was doing 2 jobs. So I was curious and I tried to find out from him, you could get Social Security maybe 30 years ago. Why are you still working? And that to 2 jobs at this age. And he said, well, my his ultimate goal was to become a member of a golf club so that he can play golf. Now he's 92. How much more time does he have left? So time is very, very important. And if we do not act wisely in time, then we may, as they say, we may, miss the bus, which means come back into this material world after giving up this body. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that if we realize and if we want to regain our spiritual consciousness or clarity, then we need to hear, talk about it, and remember the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. We learn this in the Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti suarjuna. If we don't want punarjanma, if we don't want to come back into this material world, which is, has different miseries, birth, disease, old age, death. And if we want to go back to the spiritual world, then it's important to hear and remember the pastimes of Krishna. You see, pure devotion to Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. There is no value to material success because once we leave this body, everything is left behind. Our American Express card, bank balance, family, friends, everything is left behind. So if we are not connected to Krishna, then it is just waste of life. So we see here Arjuna, he's grief stricken. His best friend, the Supreme Lord, has departed. So he has a strong feeling of separation and he's feeling sad. He's feeling kind of choked up. Haven't we experienced that when we are very, very sad? Then we feel choked up. It's so hard to even speak. And so when Yudhishthira asked him so many questions, Arjuna is unable to speak. He's finding it so difficult. There is an English saying, distance makes heart fonder, right? So Arjuna, he's feeling more affection for Krishna now that he is gone. You see, sometimes we do not value the people that are there in our lives. We value them after they have departed, you see. So Arjuna, he could remember that Krishna had become his chariot driver. He was his intimate relative. He was his well-wisher, best friend. So he's feeling overwhelmed. And he started breathing very heavily. You see, Arjuna, as I mentioned last week, is an eternal associate of Krishna. He's a pure devotee. Only pure devotees can be eternal associates. So he, being a very pure devotee, his friendship with Krishna was of the highest perfect order. And he became more close to Krishna when Krishna arranged marriage of Arjuna with his own sister, Krishna's sister Subhadra. So Krishna, he always helps his devotees. He is always there to protect his devotees. So that's what he did with the Pandavas also, especially with Arjuna. So here, Arjuna is remembering all this and he's feeling more and more separation from Krishna. And he's telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, Krishna, the Supreme Lord Hari, he treated me like his intimate friend. And now he has left me all alone. As soon as he's gone, I don't feel powerful anymore. Arjuna was a very powerful warrior, but now he's feeling powerless. If you remember in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am the ability in man. So all the abilities or the talents that we have, they are all because of mercy of Krishna. So everything comes from him, whether it is a power, a talent, opulence, whatever it may be. And why does Krishna come down? He comes down to help his devotees, protect them. And when he comes down, he comes with his eternal associates. And when his mission is completed, he goes back to his eternal abode, which is the spiritual Goloka Vrindavan. So now Arjuna can feel that as soon as Krishna left, all his powers also were withdrawn by Krishna. So one should not be puffed up that, oh, I am so powerful, I'm so beautiful, I'm so rich, I'm so talented. No, because that pride is not going to help us. So if we use our power, opulence, talent, everything in Krishna's service, perfect. You see, that is being very, very humble. So Arjuna, he is responding to Yudhishthira Maharaj's questions and he's saying, now I feel my body without any life, as if the soul has left the body. Of course, when the soul leaves the body is useless, right? So without Krishna in our lives, this body is actually useless because it's only by Krishna's mercy that we are able to see, hear, talk, walk, everything we are able to do. And it is His will, His mercy that is helping us in our day-to-day lives, you see. So Arjuna is telling Yudhishthira that it is only by the mercy of Krishna that I was able to vanquish all the lusty princes in the assembly where Draupadi was to be married. So in those days, they used to have Swayamvar, which means the girl, she would choose her husband amongst all those who were present there. If she was a princess, then all the princes would be there, and she would choose her own husband. So there was this Swayamvar of Draupadi, and Arjuna was also present. And Draupadi's father, he wanted only Arjuna to marry her, and he knew how powerful Arjuna is. So he put a condition that there was a fish on top and there was water at the bottom. And the condition was anyone who can pierce the eye, exactly the eye of the fish, by looking at the reflection in the water. So you're looking down and you're shooting the arrow up. And he knew only Arjuna can do that. And of course, Karna also. But because Karna was not a prince, he was not given an opportunity. So he's remembering that it is because of the mercy of Krishna, I was able to even pierce the eye of that fish, which was also moving on top, right? It was going round and round. And he looked at the reflection, and this is how he was able to marry Draupadi. And he gave all credit to Krishna. This should be our consciousness. Everything that we do, all the success that we get, everything should be offered to Krishna and give the credit to him. It is said that Draupadi, she was the most beautiful woman, and so many wanted to marry her, so many, right? But now Krishna's help, Krishna's mercy helped Arjuna to even get Draupadi as his wife. So he's remembering how Krishna has been helping me all along, how he helped me to fight against Indra, the king of heaven, and then how a demon named Maya was able to build a beautiful assembly house for them. You see, Maya, he's called Maya Danav. Danav means a demon. So Mayadanam, he was living in a forest called Khandav. And that forest caught fire one day, and he requested Arjuna for help. Arjuna saved his life. So in return, he built a beautiful assembly house for them. You see? Now, because Maya was a demon, Krishna wanted to kill him. And because Maya had taken shelter of Arjuna, Krishna couldn't kill him because that's a pure devotee, right? He's under the shelter of a pure devotee and he got saved. And Krishna was very pleased, that this demon has taken shelter of my pure devotee. And then Arjuna is remembering how, by Krishna's mercy, Bhima was able to kill Jarasandh. There's a mention about Jarasandh, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives us knowledge about who is Jarasandh. I know for some of you, all these names and places might be a little confusing, but just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we can purify our hearts, even though we may not understand all of it. So talking about Jarasandh, there was a king named Brihadratha, and he had no sons. So he went to the forest with his two wives, and he performed austerities. So when they were performing austerities, there was a sage, Chandrakoshika, who was very pleased with their austerities, and he blessed them. And he gave a mango to the king. And the king, he gave the mango to both his wives to eat. And after that, by the mercy of the sage, both the queens, they delivered a baby. But guess what? One delivered half baby, the other delivered another half baby. So what do you do with half babies? Half babies have no life. So they threw the baby in the forest. Those two parts were thrown in the forest. Now over there used to be a demon named Jara who was just, walking around, and she found those two pieces. And, demons, they like to eat flesh. So she thought, oh, this is good, baby flesh. But she was curious why there are two different pieces? Normally, the whole body is there. So, playfully, she just joined the two parts, and immediately the baby regained consciousness, which means became alive. You see? And when she saw the baby, with two parts joined as a full baby and alive, she felt very compassionate, and she went to the king and gave the baby to king, that here is your child, your son that you had thrown in the forest. The king was very pleased and said, I would like to reward you. What would you want? She said, since I joined him together and brought him to you, uh, I would like you to name him after me. So, because she was named Jara, his name became Jarasandha. And this Jarasandha was killed by Bhima. You see, during the Mahabharat war, he was killed by Bhima. So Arjuna is remembering all these pastimes of Krishna and how Krishna helped him and his brothers. So, from this, we should understand that we need to be grateful every single day. As soon as we wake up in the morning, be grateful that we've got another day to think about Krishna, to chant his holy names, to hear about him. And at the end of the day, before we go to bed, we are again grateful for a very Krishna conscious day for us, you see. So, this state of consciousness helps us to always be aware of the fact we are not the doers. Everything is happening because of will of Krishna. So Arjuna is also remembering talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj and saying, do you remember how Krishna protected Draupadi when she was being disrobed in the assembly, right? Krishna, he always protects his devotees. He's given a guarantee in the Bhagavad Gita also. Name bhaktya pranashyati, that my devotees will never perish. You see, he can tolerate insults on himself, but not on his devotees. So we got to be very, very careful how we deal with devotees, those who are dedicating their lives in the service of Krishna, that we do not offend them either by mind, by words, or by actions. You see, because Krishna does not tolerate insults done to his devotees. So then he also remembered another pastime where Durvasa Muni, who can easily be pleased and angered also. So once Durvasa Muni came with 10,000 disciples when the Pandavas were living in the forest. And he came to have prasadam. Imagine if someone tells me to cook for 10 people, I can feel that stress because 10 people to cook for 10 people is a big deal, right? But here 10,000 people. So fortunately, Draupadi had a container, a pot, which was, you can say, a gift, which was a magical one. And the beauty of that pot was that one could get as much prasadam one wants from that. It's never ending, kind of, I don't know what's the right word. You can say magical pot. But the condition was, as soon as Draupadi had her dinner, then that pot would not produce any more food. And guess what? When Durvasa Muni came with 10,000 disciples to meet the Pandavas, Draupadi had already eaten. And he said, well, I'm going to the river to bathe with my disciples. When I come back, we will eat. And now all the Pandavas and Draupadi were in distress. What do we do? How do we cook for 10,000 people? And at that time, Arjuna remembered Krishna came and he took there was just one tiny piece of grain left in the pot. Krishna scraped that and he ate it. Just by Krishna being satisfied, all the 10,000 disciples, including Durvasa Muni, they all were satisfied and they felt full, like as if they had a lot of food already. They were full, Now they had no place to eat anymore. This is how Krishna helped the Pandavas. And Durvasa Muni, he did not come back, because what would he say? He wouldn't be able to eat anymore. So Krishna is always helping his devotees. And Arjuna is remembering how Krishna helped them all the time, how he saved them from the anger of Durvasa Muni, who was a great mystic. But imagine, he is a great mystic, but Krishna is a topmost mystic, right? Now, Durvasa Muni Prabhupada says that he is a plenary incarnation of Lord Shiva. And that is why he is easily pleased and he's easily annoyed also. You see? So, for us to be able to relish these pastimes, we need to have basic faith. Faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that He is all in all. Everything comes from Him, and everything should be used in His service only. Now, Arjuna is remembering how he was able to fight Lord Shiva because of mercy of Krishna. And Lord Shiva was very pleased and gave him his own weapon. And this is all due to mercy of Krishna. See, all these pastimes, remembrance, should help us to remember to be grateful. You see? If we are grateful for everything that the Lord has provided us, then we'll be able to progress spiritually. And see, because of Krishna's mercy, Arjuna was able to go to the heavenly planets in that same body. You see? In fact, the Vedas mention that one has to perform a lot of pious deeds, accumulate a lot of piety, and then be able to go to the heavenly planets. But then, after the reward is finished, one has to come back. So, best is to go to the spiritual world where there is no coming back. So now Arjuna, he's feeling very powerless. He was able to win the war because Krishna was present. And now Krishna has withdrawn his power, his strength, everything. So now he is feeling very, very powerless. He's not upset about it. He's not sad about it. He's sad about the fact that Krishna is not present with him at that moment. He knows Krishna is in everyone's heart. You see, we learned in chapter 15, verse 15 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, everything comes from me because I am situated in everyone's heart. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So Arjuna is remembering those instructions from the Bhagavad Gita. So it is in the hands of Krishna to increase or decrease the life duration of anyone. You see, it was a plan of Krishna that Mahabharata took place. It was his plan that all the irreligious people should be removed from the surface of the earth. You see, Krishna is the one who wanted the pious Pandavas to rule the kingdom. So he arranged this whole Mahabharata war. So now Arjuna is remembering how great warriors tried to kill him. But because of the presence of Krishna on the battlefield, he says, no one was able to touch even my hair. In other words, I was always protected by Krishna. And Prabhupada remembers how Prahlad Maharaj was always protected by Lord Nrsimhadev. You see? Then Arjuna is mentioning great warriors like Karna, right? Karna was the oldest brother of the Pandavas. No one knew about because he was born before Mother Kunti was married. You see? So she had abandoned this child. Of course, to talk about Karna, we need a whole class or maybe 2, 3 classes to talk about who Karna was, the oldest brother of Pandavas, right? Then Arjuna talks about Bhurishrava, who was the son of Somadatta, who was a brother was Shalya. And he advised Duryodhana not to pick a fight with Pandavas. But Duryodhana did not listen, and Arjuna cut off his hands in the war. Then he talks about Susharma, one of the allies of Duryodhana. He was also killed by Arjuna. How? By the mercy of Krishna. Jayadratha, who actually was a king of modern Pakistan, which is right now in that area, right? He wanted to marry Draupadi, but he failed. So he tried to seduce Draupadi many times, and she refused every time. She was already married and she was not interested in anyone else. So he forcibly made her sit on his chariot. And at that time, the Pandavas attacked him. Bhima caught him and beat him till almost he was dead. His hair was cut off and he was taken to all the kings as servant of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Arjuna is remembering all these pastimes and feeling so much gratitude for Krishna, how he protected them, how he took care of them, how he loved them. But Arjuna, he felt lack of esteem for Krishna, and he felt how did he dare to make the Lord his chariot driver? Instead of worshipping him, he made him drive his chariot. You see how Krishna's jokings, frank talks, they were very pleasing to Arjuna, including he's remembering Krishna's beautifully decorated smile, how Krishna addressed him, "Oh Pritha, oh, one who is of the Kuru dynasty." All this remembrance is making him so overwhelmed, you see. He remembered how both of them, Krishna and Arjuna, they lived together, they stayed together, they sat together, they slept together, they loitered together, and how Krishna tolerated everything that Arjuna did, even though he is in the heart as a super soul. You see? And he's telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, he would excuse me like a friend, just like a father excuses the son. You see? Why? Krishna is all perfect. Arjuna had realized during the Mahabharat war, when Krishna was relating the whole Bhagavad Gita to him, he realized, oh, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See? So from this we should understand that Krishna, his pastimes of his pure devotees should always be respected. You see? Because that is on the transcendental level. So now Arjuna is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, now I am separated from my best friend, my well-wisher, you see, and it appears my heart has become void. Even though Super Soul is in the heart, I feel void. In Krishna's absence, I am unable to defeat. I'm unable to defeat even some infidel cowherd men. While Arjuna was guarding the bodies of all the wives of Krishna, he's feeling that I'm not even able to protect. You see, and what had happened when Arjuna was asked to protect. So as soon as Krishna decided to disappear from this material world, he wanted all his eternal associates also to go back to the spiritual world. So there were bodies of the wives of Krishna, and Arjuna was asked to guard them, to protect them, right? But he's feeling, how is it possible that I was defeated by dishonored cowherd men? How could they touch the bodies of wives of Krishna? They were all, under my protection. I was guarding them, but then it didn't happen. So the story goes, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, that the denizens of heaven, those who lived in heavenly planets, they pleased a great sage called Ashtavakra. You see, that Ashtavakra, his body was curved in 8 joints, so he used to walk in a very particular way. But because they pleased the sage, uh, these denizens of heaven, they were blessed that they would have Krishna as their husband. But then, because the way he walked, they laughed at him. And he got angry and he cursed them. He said, even though you will be, you will get Krishna as your husband, but you will be kidnapped by rogues and thieves, right? So the girls prayed to the sage and said, please, please, please. And then he said, okay, but you will regain Krishna as your husband after being robbed. So this was a plan of Krishna, right? This is what he was trying to fulfill, the blessings or curse given by this Ashtavakra Muni. So Krishna kidnapped his own wives from Arjuna's protection. And then after Krishna's departure, he wanted everybody to go back to the spiritual world. So Arjuna is remembering how Krishna plans everything perfectly, how he satisfies the blessings and curse of great devotees or great sages. Then Arjuna is remembering that I have the same bow that I used in the war, the Gandiva bow. I have the same arrows, I have the same chariot, I have the same horses. Everything has become null and void, right? It's like offering butter on the ashes, right? The fire is out, it's just ashes, and we try to put more and more butter, it's of no use, right? So what's the use? Or it's like sowing seeds on a barren land because it's not going to produce anything because it's a barren land. So, in other words, he's telling Yudhishthira Maharaj that all energies, all the power that we have, they all come from Krishna. And all this power ceases to perform or act or function as soon as Krishna withdraws them. So, what's the point of being puffed up, right? Nice analogy he gives, just like the powerhouse from where we get the electricity. If the powerhouse stops supplying energy, the bulbs are not going to light. They'll be of no use. So if we keep that in our mind and be grateful to Krishna for everything that he has given us, right? So he's saying again, he of course he's very morose, he's sad, he's all choked up and teary eyes, but still he wants to speak to Yudhishthira Maharaj and let him know how he feels. He says, the residents of Dwarka, do you know, dear brother, the residents of Dwarka, they were cursed by Brahmanas. And all those residents, the Yadus in Dwarka, they became intoxicated. They fought with sticks with each other, not recognizing each other. And everybody was dead except 4 or 5 of them. Why? This was a plan of Krishna. He wanted all the Yadus, his eternal associates, to go back to the spiritual world because he was also disappearing and going back. You see, then Arjuna gives nice analogy that just like big fish, they swallow the small fish. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, he lightens the burden of the earth by engaging the stronger Yadu dynasty to kill the weaker one. You see, unfortunately, in this material world, most people want to be controllers. I want to control my spouse, my children. Some try to control the boss, friends, relatives. The list goes on and on and on. That sense of being the controller is very hard to get rid of. And because of that, we become conditioned. We are conditioned that I am this body, I'm going to live forever, and everyone is here to serve me. You see, all this is conditioning. And because of this mentality, Maya creates disparity between stronger and weaker species. In all species, this is there. We will see how a cat will, try to eat a rat because rat is weaker than the cat. You see? So this is there. That struggle for existence is there. I'm sure all of us have experienced, struggling in this life. It could be struggling with family, with job, with business, with friends. It could be any, but we are struggling for existence. But in devotional service, in spiritual life, there is no disparity. Everyone, all devotees want to serve the Supreme Lord. No one tries to imitate to be the Supreme Lord. No. So Arjuna, after remembering all these different pastimes and, relating it to Yudhishthira Maharaj, where others also are listening, he's saying, now I'm attracted to Krishna's instructions that were given to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He's saying all those instructions, by remembering them, it will relieve my burning heart. You see? And now he understands why Krishna left the instructions of Bhagavad Gita for him and for all of us. Because Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures, you see. So Arjuna wants to teach Bhagavad Gita, to us also through this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, to let us know how important are Krishna's instructions, especially given in the Bhagavad Gita, which is, and it is for all times. It wasn't just for Dwapar Yuga. No, it is more relevant in Kali Yuga, in this age that we are in. Why? Because the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, they give us solace. They give us some hope whenever there is a critical time in our lives, or we are going through mental agony, or whatever it may be, or we are overcome with grief. We are not at that level to be in that same status of mind like Arjuna, a pure devotee of the Lord. So if we really try hard to hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, understand, associate with devotees, and put it into practice. So then we will be able to understand how to overcome grief and how to again regain spiritual clarity. Clarity is very important. Most people in this world do not know what is right, what is wrong, what is to be done, what is not to be done. But when we start chanting on a daily basis, we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we do that, we will start clearing or purifying the heart. Then there's going to be clarity. And if we are not so sure, then we should take guidance from advanced devotees and try to understand. So I'm going to end now. We concluded verses 1 through 27. And next week, there will be no class because I will be traveling. But week after next, we will continue this chapter till the end of the chapter. So I'm going to stop now. If anyone has any questions or comments, you're welcome to ask.